This is a special edition of 6 on Your Side Live.
Through the windows, up the stairs, chilling rain, like an ocean everywhere. Don't wanna reach for me, do you? I mean nothing to you. The little things give you away, and now there will be no mistaking. The levees are breaking.
She is a storm we cannot and should not forget.
You gonna tell me the richest country in the world cannot get enough buses to clear out one city?
And 6 feet underwater, I do.
Katrina came ashore exactly 2 years ago tonight, turning southeast Louisiana into a disaster zone. But now, 24 months later, we do see some progress. Neighborhoods once desolate, now reawakening, and homeowners who lost everything, returning and rebuilding.
This is my home. This is where I want to live.
Tonight, you'll see the good that's come from the hurricane, the people who are persevering despite major obstacles, and the New Orleans spirit that refuses to be destroyed.
It's real New Orleans, full of fun. We back.
In this special edition of 6 on Your Side Live, Signs of Hope. From Studio B at the WDSU Broadcast Center in New Orleans, 6 is on Your Side Live. Good evening. I'm Norman Robinson. During this commercial-free hour, we'll update you on the progress made post-Katrina. We're going to highlight what's working in the aftermath of the hurricane, and we'll talk to the heroes who are rebuilding despite the difficulty. Joining me in the conversation tonight, dozens of your neighbors who are seeing signs of hope. We'll share their inspirational stories. Coming up, we'll look at education and the first school that opened in the lower Ninth Ward. Then we'll cover the healthcare system and go inside one hospital that's bounced back post-Katrina. Plus, the real champions after the storm, small businesses who are beating the odds, and an unusual look inside the Road Home program. Tonight, you'll meet someone who actually benefited from the Road Home. We'll also have live reports from around the area. Chris Fairbairn is in Gentilly tonight, and Camille Whitworth is in Jackson Square. And that's where Candlelight Vigil, marking the 2nd anniversary of Katrina, is just getting underway. Camille?
Well, Norman, right now, they're marching from Spanish Plaza here to Jackson Square. We're waiting on the hundreds of people we are told to arrive. Once they get here, they will have candles and they will take part here in what they're calling a silent vigil. There is music here. We have Stephanie Jordan and her band here providing music in the background. But mainly what we're told is this is going to be a time for people to come, to reflect, and to remember lives lost, the horrible memories of back in 2005, and to try and find change, try to find a way to move forward. It's a time for people to come, bare their souls, uplift their spirits, and really lean on one another in what many are calling a time to sort of leave those bad times behind and try to find a way to move forward now 2 years after the storm. So of course we'll be out here all night and we'll bring you the very latest from here as it occurs. Norman?
All right, Camille, stand by. And as Camille mentioned, we'll be bringing you broadcasts from Jackson Square throughout this program. Now let's take a look at what's happened in the last 2 years in 4 of the city's hardest hit neighborhoods: Gentilly, the lower Ninth Ward, New Orleans East, and Lakeview. We sent 6 on Your Side Live correspondent Travers Mackle to find out how neighbors are seeing signs of hope.
While you're going through it, it seems like an eternity. But now when I look back, I go, where did those 2 years go? They went so quick. But I feel like this whole block of time is just gone, and I don't know what happened to it.
George and Amy Sins live within 100 yards of the levee break. They're constantly reminded of the work in progress.
Especially when they're driving pilings and you hear boom, 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 and the whole house shakes and everything shakes.
It's estimated that about 30% of the pre-Katrina Lakeview population is back, but there are signs of progress. Lots have been cleared, and homes are in the process of being repaired.
I think within the next 5 years, I think we'll see significant changes in the area. But I think it's going to be a very painful process.
The growing pains are also being felt in New Orleans East. an area underwater after Hurricane Katrina hit.
Just be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day, as my neighbor says, but the process is coming along.
Colette Hicks and her family have been back in their Kenilworth home since December of 2006.
I was scared. I didn't want to come back because I just figured, there's nothing here.
Many people living on Hicks Block have returned, but there are still abandoned homes. Is it a sign that people have lost faith?
I would tell them, no, something is happening.
Sybil Lowe says something is also happening in Gentilly.
But it's a lots of new people moving in the neighborhood that's buying around here. So it's definitely coming back.
The London Avenue Canal that broke is repaired, and homes once destroyed are boarded up or cleared. But Lowe says it's not the same as it was before. In her Vista Park subdivision, only about 1 in every 10 homes is actually lived in. Lowe has high hopes for a comeback.
It's home, and I love the area. It's so quiet and peaceful in this area, and the neighbors, it's like a small town.
Here in the lower 9th Ward, the levees that broke are completely repaired, but there are very few other signs of progress. Take a look over there. That used to be a city block. People used to live there. Now there's very little. Daryl Sims is trying to change that.
Well, a couple of people done told me, man, I wouldn't go back to the 9th Ward. I said, well, I'm born and raised right here, so this is where I want to be at.
Sims and his wife lost everything in the storm. They lived on Tennessee Street, but relocated to Texas after Hurricane Katrina. In July, they built the first modular home in the lower 9th Ward.
I just hope everybody come back. My neighbor right here said she was coming back, and I got another neighbor down the street. They say they're coming back, so once they get back here, then we can get the rest of them to come in, and we have the 9th Ward rebuild again.
It may be a long way away, but Sims says it's worth the wait. 4 areas of New Orleans, each distinctively different prior to Hurricane Katrina, they now share one common bond afterwards by people living there, a desire to return to normal.
I think New Orleans East will grow just as fast as the CBD, the French Quarter.
If you come back, you hope, you pray that the levees will be fixed and that this won't happen again.
Travers Mackle, 6 on Your Side Live.
You hope and pray that it won't happen again, indeed. Joining us tonight from the Beacon of Hope Resource Center in Lakeview, Robert Lupo. From the community activist group Acorn, Elise Hamilton. From the Mary Queen of Vietnam community in New Orleans East, Lang Lee. And from the Pontilli Collaborative Association, Victor Gordon. Ladies, gentlemen, thanks for being on 6 on Your Side Live. Mr. Lupo, let's start with you. What is the future for Lakeview?
Well, we see great progress in the past 2 years. Unfortunately, we are still looking for some help from the government. But what's stood up and made the greatest impression on us is the work of people like the Beacon of Hope group that you made a mention of. These young ladies and gentlemen who, when they first came back to their home, saw that there was a tremendous need in the community for help, understanding, answer questions on how to get permitting. And young lady by the name of Denise Thornton, one of our real bright spots in our community, put together a little program in her own house that has now grown into a tremendous organization that helps people cut the grass in the neighborhoods, plants trees on neutral grounds, holds events that bring communities to get the community together for festivals and fresh open markets. It's incredible what the people in Lakeview have done on their own.
Incredible, indeed. And Ms. Hamilton, what's your greatest optimism in your area of concern?
Well, we really right now we're looking positive because I'm in the lower 9th Ward and with the Acorn group in that area, and we're being very positive because with MLK opening up and with the library opening up, we're seeing more and more families come back, and we're feeling real good about that. So optimistic, I'm not. I'm really upbeat about what's happening in the lower 9, and as we ride around, we're seeing more and more families come back. We have about 1,000 families back in that area rebuilding and excited about rebuilding in that area. So it's looking good. It's looking positive for us right about now.
And Ms. Lee, how are things looking for you in Village de l'Est and specifically Eastern New Orleans?
I see great progress, especially within Village de l'Est, where Mary Queen of Vietnam Church is. Our Sunday Mass, we have over 3,000 attendees every weekend. And as far as for businesses, we are back. So far we have close to 80 businesses that are back. And our next steps that we want to do is to bring a clinic out in eastern New Orleans. As you see, Methodist Hospital was closed after the storm, so the clinic, especially for the elderly, it's very important to us. So that's the next step. And then
that's going to be very important. Mr. Gordon, you got the last 30 seconds, sir. What are your hopes for the Pontilly area?
For the Pontilly area, what we would like to see is the shopping center coming back. Even though we have a lot of families moving back into the area, but there are certain services that are not up and running. As we work with community groups, then we hope that that'll come back soon.
All right. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As you know, over the past 2 years, we've been helping you keep track of the recovery by using this particular tool, if I can get it up here. It's called the New Orleans Index. The Brookings Institution and the Greater New Orleans Community Data Center have been crunching the numbers since January 2006 to show us small signs of hope. Here are some of the numbers compiled 4 months after the storm. At that time, 750,000 had evacuated and lived outside the area. Today, the index reports more than 67% of us are back home. As for education, only 5% of the schools in New Orleans had reopened in January 2006. Right now, in 2007, 45% of the schools are open. In the lower Ninth Ward, neighbors are celebrating a big sign of hope and the first school to open there since the storm. In fact, President Bush chose the Martin Luther King Jr. Charter School to deliver his Katrina anniversary address this morning in New Orleans. 6 on Your Side Live correspondent Camille Whitworth went inside the school to show us what it took to get it open. Camille.
Norman, we spent a lot of time with the folks over there at the King Charter School. They say they overcame a lot of obstacles to get that school up and running, but you know what? They say that they were dedicated and they were determined to do everything that they could to make sure that those kids got back in class. They say where there is no struggle, there is no progress, and no one knows that better than these educators in the lower Ninth Ward.
Brings a lot of hope for this community. I mean, here's a community that was heavily devastated during Katrina, but we're back. We're back in business.
Principal Doris Hicks and board members took the bull by the horns and simply fought for it. They found the resources when things weren't moving as fast as they wanted.
It was a total loss, we thought, but actually it wasn't. We had some engineers to come in to tell us whether it was structurally sound, and we got an extensive report back saying that it was very extensive. The damage was extensive, but there was hope.
With that hope, we are here. Everything is brand new, from the walls to the floors. Furniture, kitchen equipment, and supplies. More than 600 children are registered, and everyone's ready to go. The hope is the movement here will inspire more progress.
That's the biggest cry we hear. I want to come home. And so if we could help them just by getting the school here, providing certain kinds of support, and we're going to do that. We're going to work at looking at different community agents to bring them in, do workshops, give them community support.
King Charter School got 23 feet of water. It was used as a shelter for hundreds of people. And so what a difference 2 years makes. During the storm, more than half of the school was submerged in water. In fact, this is the exact window where rescue crews came and took people out. Nothing was saved. The school lost more than 30 students and their parents. Do you have any feeling on, the loss of those 30 students or parents?
Oh, that's going to tremendously affect the staff and the students, because this is a close-knit community. It's really a family.
But somehow, through it all, school leaders say they were sent a sign that they had to rebuild. Some call it a miracle.
The picture of King, realizing the dream, King, we had from day one when the school was built, undamaged in the hurricane. Undamaged. We were amazed to see it.
How?
We have no idea.
So the school now stands in the middle of the lower Ninth Ward, better than before, and the plan is to help more people than ever.
In the back is the public library. It's the children's section of the library. And on my right side is the study center that we had our parents to come in and work on GED and so forth.
For Hicks and her entire team, this is a dream come true.
When you want to build a community, you just bring a school back.
Right.
And the people will come.
Well, you hear it there, build it, and they will come, and that is exactly what the parents and students did at King Charter School. They are open, they are running, and they say, I did speak to them today, that they are doing just great. They're so excited over there. And by the way, Norman, it cost more than $7 million for that entire project to get up and running.
Lots of excitement all the way down. Camille,
yes,
thank
indeed.
you. And lest we forget, down in the parish, months after the storm, one woman worked overtime to make sure her schools, all of them, reopened, even though many in her parish didn't have any place to live. She's been called a hero by many, and in May, the Kennedy family honored her with a prestigious Profiles in Courage Award for leading the way. Doris Vaucher is the superintendent of schools in St. Bernard Parish. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a sign of hope.
Thank you for having me.
I got to ask you, is that light in the tunnel, is that a light at the end of the tunnel, or is that a train coming at us?
Oh, it's coming through. That light's coming through very brightly. We're back. The people of St. Bernard are back. I've got over 4,000 children in 5 completely renovated schools. So a great deal of light, Norman.
And what are you most optimistic about this 2007 school year?
That more and more children are returning every day. Families are coming back to St. Bernard, and we're putting out bid packages on 5 additional facilities. So we'll have 10 schools open next school year.
10 schools?
That's correct.
Well, that's quite a number of schools that you're opening up, so that is a major accomplishment.
Absolutely.
All right, Ms. Vaucher. Also with us tonight, the president of the board at MLK Charter School, Hilda Young, and board member Stephen Martin. Thank you for being here, Ms. Young and Mr. Martin. Let me ask you first, Mr. Martin, what did the president's visit mean to the staff at MLK today?
Well, I think the president's visit makes a remarkable amount of the progress that we're making, and he knew of our struggle. Most people read the article in People magazine that came out, and so he wanted to come and see how do you rebuild schools in New Orleans, and we gave him a shining example of just that. That's how you rebuild schools, with the community, because when we started this rebuilding process, it not only involved Mrs. Young, the principal, Doris Hicks, but also the community and the parents. We put the word out that we were coming back. We held a aggressive registration process, and now we've reopened with almost 600 kids.
600 students?
600 students.
How many students did you have before the storm, Ms. Young?
Before the storm, we had an enrollment of over 700 children.
So you're almost at capacity?
We are at capacity because now we have a different teacher-pupil ratio. We've lowered the teacher-pupil ratio a little. And we've also added 7th and 8th grade. We did not have 7th and 8th grade last year. We were K-6. So this year we're pre-K through 8th grade.
Ms. Vaucher, were you optimistic about the president's visit today and his promise to even give more help to the area, especially as it relates to education?
Absolutely. I think everyone has to realize this recovery is going to take several years. So even though there have been federal resources allocated to the community, they've got to understand, and I think Congress does, that this has to go on for many years. This morning with us at our breakfast were Senators Landrieu and Vitter and our Representative Charles Melanson, and they have made commitments to work with us very closely to make sure those resources still continue.
I asked Ms. Vaucher what she was most optimistic about down in St. Bernard Parish. What are you most optimistic about, Mr. Martin, as far as the lower 9 is concerned?
Well, I'm most optimistic about the new Recovery School District Superintendent and the new State Superintendent, because they have a sense of inclusion. And so I think as we begin to rebuild schools both in the lower 9th ward and across this city, they are looking for the community input to help rebuild these schools. And I think once you get that community input, then the rebuilding of schools will be an easy process in this city.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Martin, Ms. Young, and Ms. Vaucher.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Moving on now to our healthcare system, which many have said is struggling post-Katrina. But one sign of hope is Children's Hospital, where more than $1 million was spent on upgrades. 6 on Your Side Live correspondent Helena Moreno shows you how the hospital is better prepared for a storm right now.
Children's Hospital was spared from Katrina's floodwaters, but still, patients had to be evacuated. And for the first time, the hospital temporarily locked its doors.
We were very fortunate. We did evacuate over 100 patients when we did evacuate the hospital. And I'm happy to say that we were able to evacuate and place them in other hospitals, and not a child was lost.
And since Katrina, Children's Hospital has spent over $1 million on hurricane preparedness upgrades. That includes the construction of this helicopter landing pad on the roof.
When we did have to evacuate, we used a field next to the hospital. Had we had flooding, that would not have been possible.
Besides evacuations, the helipad can also be used to bring in supplies. Another major upgrade is right here behind me. Now, it is not as impressive looking as the helipad you just saw, but this is truly vital for the hospital. It is a well recently drilled by Children's Hospital 800 feet below the surface. Now, what's so important about this is that this well will keep the air conditioning running just in case there's another emergency.
One of the things that really resulted in why we had to evacuate the hospital was because we lost water pressure. We lost city water. And we needed that city water to pump up to our chillers so that we could run the air conditioning system on our emergency generators.
The hospital is equipped with 5 emergency generators on upper floors, 70,000 gallons worth of diesel, hurricane windows, several weeks worth of food and potable water, and satellite phones.
There's certainly the 800 megahertz phone, which is used to help communicate with local and state government, with Office of Emergency Preparedness and so forth.
Hospital administrators say they feel prepared to stay or leave, but leaving and evacuating the hospital again is the measure of last resort.
Let me just share with you why we do not want to evacuate. If the building's integrity and all our preparations are in order, it's better for our patients to stay here, because we have patients who've had open heart surgery. We have children that are immunocompromised because they're being treated for cancer. We have neonates that are, a pound and a half and are in very critical situation. To evacuate those patients puts those patients in jeopardy.
And that's why many of the upgrades made are to self-sustain the hospital for weeks.
We're prepared to self-sustain for about 28 days. I mean, clearly we could probably go longer than that. We would hope that in 28 days that we could resupply or get assistance.
And the work on the hospital's hurricane plan is not over yet. More improvements are in the works. The biggest lesson learned here during Katrina is that you can never be too prepared. Uptown at Children's Hospital, Helena Moreno, 6 on Your Side Live.
Words to live by. You can never be too prepared. Children's Hospital, by the way, has already made plans with other similar hospitals around the country to take their patients should they need to be transported after a disaster. The Children's Health Fund was established in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina to give signs of hope to people along the entire Gulf Coast. Joining us live in studio now from the Children's Health Fund, Dr. Presharon Dixon and Dr. Jaya Isola. Also from Operation Blessings, Jody Harrington. Ladies, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Let me ask you first this question. What has been the most significant contribution from the Children's Health Fund?
Well, I think that the most significant contribution is that we've been able to put mobile medical units on the ground in Louisiana as well as Mississippi, both here in New Orleans and in Baton Rouge. And that has allowed us to provide access to care for children who don't have that right now.
And what is some of the types of illnesses that you are treating, that you're finding? Are these are illnesses or maladies particular to Hurricane Katrina?
In some ways they are. I think on the medical side, we have 2 units, one dedicated to mental health and one dedicated to medical health. And on the medical side, you see asthma and allergies, sometimes exacerbated because of the crowded living situations in the trailers that our patients are living in. On the mental health side, you're definitely seeing in children all forms of exacerbations in a whole range of behavioral health disorders that could be PTSD. But PTSD looks just like ADHD or oppositional defiant disorder, or in a child, delay in their milestone. So in a child, they won't come up to you and say, we have post-traumatic stress disorder. They'll come up to you and present in a whole different slew of ways, and that's what we're seeing.
Is that, and what age groups or age brackets are we talking about?
We are seeing on our unit, we see age 0 to 24, and a lot of our school-age children are presenting with ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder as diagnoses from the teachers or the schools or concerns of, and we're finding that they're actually post-traumatic stress disorder. And on the younger children, you're seeing more of delay in milestones, like they have speech delay and stuff that are significantly or can be attributed to trauma.
And Ms. Harrington, what is Operation Blessing?
Operation Blessing is the humanitarian arm of the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we've been here since the early days of Katrina, rebuilding homes and just filling the gaps where we can. But over the last 16 months, on April 3rd, 2006, we launched a medical clinic in New Orleans East, and there is definitely action in New Orleans East. There is life there, and we've experienced that as we've watched over the past 16 months, hundreds of people line up. And so we offer a free medical clinic, free dental clinic, free pharmacy, and we've been able to serve over 30,000 patients in only 16 months and fill over 72,000 prescriptions for absolutely free to the precious people in New Orleans.
Most of the people you see, are they adults or children?
Most of our clients are adults because there is a strong health care system for the children, so most of our clients are adults, yeah.
And let me ask you, in the last 30 seconds, do you have enough resources to service all the people who are in need?
Well, no, we don't. Particularly where mental health is concerned. Both in Mississippi, where I am, and where Dr. Azola is here, we're finding that there are numerous children who need care, and we don't have enough psychiatrists available for that. We have psychologists on our units, as well as counselors who are helping us, but that is our primary area of lack of resources.
All right, ladies, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Your questions have been pouring in by the thousands, by the way, in regards to the Road Home program, wanting to know how you can get your money to rebuild. Chris Fairbairn is live in Gentilly with how some have gotten a sign of hope from the Road Home. Chris.
All right, Norman. Well, here's where the program stands right now. As we know it, more than 184,000 people have applied for help from the Road Home, and nearly 44,000 have actually gone to closing and have received their signs of hope. 6 on Your Side Live correspondent Heath Allen talks to one man who has his award money in his hands and one family who is still waiting.
Everyone in here was, I think, just phenomenal, considering the strain that they're under.
It's just too time consuming. It's been stretched out. I mean, it's over 2 years right now, you know, and we still haven't gotten even to the first section now.
The Road Home story runs the gamut. How you feel about it depends on where you are in the process and how the process has treated you. For Jake Impastato, it's all good. Now working on his New Orleans home, Jake was able to bank $150,000 Road Home dollars, but feels the pain of those still waiting on that check.
Got all the money. I don't know how it happened, but people don't get it. People can't get any money at all.
Impastato's good fortune, he says, came because he acted early.
I applied up in the beginning when they told me to apply.
Thousands of new applications poured into the Road Home office as the program deadline came and went at the end of July. And then they were touting their numbers.
We have actually distributed more than almost 40,000 awards to homeowners, which equals about $2.5 billion into the hands of Louisiana families. We are scheduling many more, and we've really reached a point where we're seeing significant momentum.
We're doing a tremendous job of getting funding out once we started to do closings.
Are you angry? Frustrated that I've been lied to by something that's meant to help us. Here's the house before we added on, before the storm. That's what it looked like.
Brian and Serena Graber are the flip side of that coin. Like thousands and thousands of others, their home was destroyed by Hurricane Katrina.
This is what it looked like after the storm.
They sought relief with Road Home. A protracted disagreement over the square footage resolved itself last year.
They agreed to pay this number, but nothing's been done since then. That's the furthest we've gone with this.
That was last November. Now, August, 9 months later, after hundreds of phone calls, still no money. And now
there's a wall there of communications where we just can't get straight answers from them.
Everything's 2 weeks. You'll be going to closing in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks, end of the month. Same stories over and over.
this is where the Grabers lived when Hurricane Katrina hit. Since that time, they've been trying to put their life back together. Right now, all they're looking is for the path, the road home. Obviously, the home here on Alexander Street has been bulldozed, and while Brian and Serena still owe a mortgage here, they've bought another house in St. Bernard that they are renovating, all out-of-pocket expense, no help from Road Home.
Scary.
And based on the promises made to them by Road Home, Brian and Serena invested in the future of St. Bernard Parish at its recovery, opening Milestones Child Development Center. Each child sleeping on the Milestone Center floor, they say, represents another family doing the same thing they are, trying to rebuild their lives. But the Road Home money has not yet come, and debt is mounting. So too the frustration for Brian, Serena, and their own children.
They hear Dad and his frustration calling these people on many occasions, spending numerous hours. I estimate I've probably made over 500 phone calls.
Certainly, a Road Home check would take a lot of the pressure off the Grabert family. And then, everyone would sleep a lot better. In St. Bernard Parish, Heath Allen, 6 on Your Side Live.
Consultants have been hired to review the Road Home program. They're supposed to advise how to make the Road Home more efficiently run. Critics, though, have been calling for this action for a long time. Norman?
Thank you, Chris. And joining us now from the Citizens Road Home Action Team, Frank Silvestri and Dr. Melanie Ehrlich. Dr. Ehrlich and Mr. Silvestri, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
What is the Citizens Road Home Action Committee?
We're a group of interested citizens that have tried to basically make the Road Home program process faster and fairer by discovering exactly what the procedures were, making that information available to the public, and making suggestions all along the way where we thought it could be improved.
And Dr. Ehrlich, what do you tell somebody who's out there waiting on their Road Home money? What kind of hope can you give them at this point?
The program is, we hope, going to get yet better. There was a reference that we just heard to these new program reviews from 2 independent companies, KPMG and RAND, and we've been in touch with them, and we hope that they're going to make good suggestions quickly to improve the program.
Now, we talked to Walter Leger, who, as you know, is a member of the Louisiana Recovery Authority, and he said, well, they want to see the Road Home do better, but the LRA doesn't run the program. So if the LRA doesn't run the program, who does, and who are you talking to jettison these people to get them going?
We're talking to everybody that we can. The LRA is supposed to make policy. The Office of Community Development is supposed to run the program, and ICF is the contractor. But not enough money is the most pressing problem with the shortfall, and the fact that the grants at this point are still going out far too slowly. At this point, 9 months, 10 months into the program, there's no reason for the process to be as riddled with problems as it was in the beginning.
Dr. Ehrlich, what do you expect to come from a result from these private independent reviews that are supposed to be underway?
Quick fixes for some of the most pressing problems, and hopefully that will impress Congress that this program is going to be much fairer and faster and more accurate, and so that we'll get the shortfall covered. And Mr. Silvestri, considering the dysfunctional nature of this, what's to prevent Congress from saying it's a waste of time because they've wasted so much time and money leading up to this point?
Well, I think the American people realize the importance of the recovery of this city, even if their leaders are slow to understand that fact, and that Congress generally, I think, appreciates it. I wish we could have seen something more and more specific from President Bush today, a commitment that whatever the price tag is, Louisiana should get its fair share of the recovery dollars. It hasn't so far.
And Dr. Ehrlich, what did you want to hear from the President today in his visit to New Orleans and the Mississippi Gulf Coast?
That he would support covering the shortfall, and I want your viewers everywhere to contact their friends and neighbors throughout the country and tell them that they need to contact Congress and ask them that it's so pressing in September that Congress cover the shortfall. We've got a new website, chatushome.com, that makes it really easy for people everywhere to do that.
All right, and what do you want people to do on that website in 10 seconds?
They'll find out what they need to do. It's basically just contact your congressman and tell them, give Louisiana your the fair share of recovery money.
All right, Mr. Silvestri and Dr. Ehrlich, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As we continue to look for signs of hope, our thoughts are also focused on the many victims of the storm and their families. We take you back to Jackson Square right now to the Katrina Memorial Service. Camille Whitworth joins us live. Camille?
Well, Norman, what I can tell you is that right now they have not opened the gates to this particular area where the candlelight vigil will be held. They're waiting on a bunch of marchers to come from Spanish Plaza to arrive here. At that time, they're going to open the gates and allow people to come in, light their candles, and have their silent vigil. They also have screens with video that will also show the recovery over the last 2 years, so people will be able to come here and reflect on the years past and the future. We do have people lined up outside of the gates. You can see them waiting to get in. I can tell you we're expecting probably hundreds of people to show up here. We're expected everything to get underway and to officially start probably within the next 15-20 minutes or so. So again, this is just a time for what we are told a lot of local officials, celebrities even, and then people who just want to come, people who want to remember those who lost their lives during Hurricane Katrina, to even say a silent prayer even for people who lost everything and are here trying to rebuild, and just to give strength to the city. So a lot of things are going to be happening here tonight, and of course I will be here throughout the evening and have more for you in upcoming newscasts. Norman?
All right, Camille, we'll talk to you again in just a bit. You know, while many people have waited on assistance from FEMA or the road home to rebuild, there are those who have moved forward on their own. The Earls family lives in California, but has been providing signs of hope for many people here. They've been constructing quality homes like these in Gentilly for those displaced by Katrina. The Earls have completed 5 homes so far and should complete 25 homes by the end of the year. Mr. Dennis Earls?
That's me.
There you are. You're way back there. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Would you please stand so I can reach you with the mic? I'm old and I don't bend over very well.
That's okay.
What are the dimensions on the houses that you're offering free of charge, I guess, for the people who've been displaced?
We're doing doubles. We've actually acquired 20 properties over the last 7 months, not 5. But we're doing doubles all throughout Gentilly and throughout the lower Ninth Ward area.
Mm-hmm. And what was it that compelled you to provide this service for the people of the city?
Well, my wife is from New Orleans East, and her family was hit extremely hard during the storm, and it's my goal, obviously, to put my dollars into the city to try to help rebuild.
And you talk about your dollars. How much money have you had to come up with of your own, and how much have you had to borrow?
Well, I've put over $800,000 of my own money into the city, and I borrow about the same.
You've borrowed about the same?
Correct.
All right. And are these houses given to people, or are they just provided for them at a discount rate?
Well, we're providing housing for those who are on either HANO or FEMA, or those who just need housing right now.
All right. And where are your family members now?
Los Angeles.
They're still in Los Angeles? Mm-hmm. You still have family and people here as well?
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Nice to have you. You know, many small business owners have moved forward, too, with the help of groups like Second Wind NOLA. Laura Drum. Where are you, Ms. Drum? There you are. You're sitting where you're supposed to sit.
Yes.
Don't confuse old people.
It was easy. It had my name there.
There you go. You're from Second Wind NOLA. Thanks for giving small businesses a helping hand. What is it that you exactly do for them?
Well, we were formed after the storm when we realized that small businesses were not getting the same treatment that they got in New York after 9/11. You may or may not know that after 9/11, small businesses received over $700 million in the form of grants and loans, most of that being grants. We were told that that wasn't going to happen here because they didn't want us to set a precedent. And although we may be Louisianians, Norman, I know that precedent means it happened before, and it happened before in New York. So we have fought, went to LRA meetings, just continued to argue for some type of relief. And in December, Governor Blanco did announce a small grant and loan program that was rolled out in April. And happy to say that about, I think it was 500 small businesses got grants. The problem that we're seeing now is that the second part of the grants are not being rolled out. It's mired in bureaucratic nightmares with OCD and this one and that one and the other. So you have a lot of small businesses out there that are just at their wits' end. They made business decisions based on this promise from our politicians, and it's not happening. So we continue to fight.
Hopefully you'll hang in there and bring them some relief.
Absolutely.
Laura Drum, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Chill the barber is another man who captures that entrepreneurial spirit of the city of New Orleans. Katrina destroyed Chill's shop, so he started cutting hair on a corner outside a service station on Claiborne Avenue. The Idea Village gave him a sign of hope and some startup money, and finally, 18 months after the storm, he opened the doors to his barber shop. And Wilbert Chill Wilson is here tonight. Nice to meet you finally.
Well, same to meet you here, Norman.
I've seen your story on television, read about it in the newspaper and magazine. What makes you so optimistic on this 2-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina?
Well, first of all, I got to thank God for just giving me the strength to be able to go through this whole process. And, 2 years now, in the last 6 months, my business has been open. And, the people inspired me, to be an entrepreneur, to stay in business. And, with the media coverage, with, like I say, Idea Village, Eden Guild for Men, the people helping me, that made me feel like if I had other people helping me and everybody can see it, that how people collaborate, other small businesses and other people can collaborate the same way, I was helped, and somebody can help someone else. And that made me feel like I was a beacon of hope for the city and a life for small entrepreneurs.
What compelled you to set up shop on the street after the storm?
Well, it was something me and my wife had talked about. She asked me what I was going to do, or we was going to move into a new city. And I told her I was going to try to think of some kind of way that I can go, just to be seen and provide a service for the people in New Orleans. So, I went and bought some things, and I ended up at the Shell gas station. And, now we're here today at the 2nd anniversary. Now I have my business back. So, it was my wife really behind the whole idea, and some of my friends.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for sitting where you were supposed to, too.
All right.
Okay. Well, the next 4 ladies you are about to meet are giving signs of hope to an entire neighborhood. Katrina brought them to their knees, but they've been able to find strength and power in each other. 6 on Your Side Live correspondent LaTanya Norton introduces you to the Belles of Bayou Road.
A daycare, a restaurant, a beauty salon, and a bookstore, all owned by the Belles of Bayou Road. 4 women on a mission to rebuild their community following the disastrous days of Hurricane Katrina.
When we came back, it was shortly after the storm. A lot of businesses weren't open, and we just leaped out on faith.
Reaching deep into their hearts and into their pockets, none of the 4 received any financial help to start or rebuild their business.
It was really hard. I didn't get any money from FEMA or anybody. So the money that I made before, I had to spend it back into the business.
I didn't qualify for any grants from anybody, because I wasn't open before Katrina and I was for profit.
After being in business almost 24 years, failure is not an option.
So they pooled their limited resources, a telephone, a computer, and a copy machine, and one by one opened their doors for business while leaning on a network of support, urging their customers to spend their time and their money on Bayou Road.
They'll first drop their child off. They'll stop at the bookstore, grab a book, and go to the hair salon. And once at the hair salon, most likely 9 out of 10 they'll go to the restaurant. So a whole day will be here on Bayou Road.
The Belles say their hope is to one day turn this stretch of Bayou Road into a commercial and cultural corridor, attracting other businesses to the area. And it looks like that's starting to happen.
There are many obstacles that small businesses face in the rebuilding after Hurricane Katrina, but we feel if we work together and establish partnerships that support one another, that we can ensure each other's success.
Once strangers, these 4 women now stand united in a sisterhood of strength, struggle, and support.
I can literally look to my left or look to my right and know that somebody is not going to let me fall. I'm not going to fail. Going through that experience helped us bond together, and we see ourselves better as a collective. We stand stronger, better together. We're like sisters now.
LaTanya Norton, 6 on Your Side Live.
And just in case you were wondering where Bayou Road is, here's a map to give you an idea of the location. The Bayou Road corridor runs parallel to Esplanade Avenue and at times crosses North Broad and Esplanade. Three of the actual belles of Bayou Road are here live in Studio B tonight. They are Dwana Makeba, Vera Warren Williams, and Yashika Jordan. Ladies, thanks for being here in Studio B. Whose idea was this, and why did you think of it?
It was Dwana's.
Why are you so reluctant to claim this idea, Ms. McCabe?
Because I know that I don't stand alone, Norman. I not only stand with the women that are to my side, but I stand because of my ancestors and my community. Literally, the man who lived above the salon came and painted the floors, and my father came, and friends and neighbors came with contributions and donations and ideas. So I'm a little reluctant to just take all the credit. Vera and Yashika have definitely been an asset to the community.
Well, how close were you before this event?
Well, Dwana and I have known each other for almost 15, 20 years. We've worked together.
Were you business partners?
We worked together on different production projects.
What about you?
And I met Vera and Dwana when I moved to Bayou Road to open up Jordan's Learning Academy.
Was that before Hurricane Katrina?
No, this is my first business.
Okay, so this is your first business.
Yes.
And you opened it post Hurricane Katrina,
Yes.
after the storm.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I was already in childcare, 11 years into it, and I decided to come home. I just came back home August 15, 2006, and I opened that daycare center in September of 2006. They need a place for children to go. I had the experience, I had the certificates, I had the license, I needed to get here.
What was the biggest challenge, Ms. McCabe?
Well, I saw the space before Katrina, but I didn't really have faith, and I had a lot of fear and a lot of trepidation about who would come. I do a specialized service of natural hair, and I wasn't sure if I had the population to support that. But from seeing Yashika and talking to Vera, I moved past that fear, and I just took a leap of faith, and so far, so good.
So far, so good. Ms. Williams, what about you? Were you pessimistic? And if you were, how'd you get beyond it?
Well, I never was pessimistic because after serving the community for almost 24 years, we've become a community institution. And people were calling me in Chicago, where my family and I evacuated, and asking us when we were coming back. So not returning was not really an option. So we just picked up and came back and started the rebuilding process.
How do you see yourself, Ms. Jordan, in the recovery and the rebuilding of the city of New Orleans? Are you a vital part of that?
Yes, I am. I am in the child care business, and families are moving home every day with children. A lot of our daycare centers are filling up in this city, and I needed to be here. I have a big space. I can take 44 kids, and I have another center that's going to be opening hopefully by November 1st that'll hold 85 children. So I'm here to help with the rebuilding of New Orleans by opening up a child care center, which will give parents a chance to get out here and work, and they don't have to worry about their children. They're in good hands with us.
And briefly, Ms. McCabe, what makes you optimistic about the future of your city?
Seeing people come and spend time on Bayou Road, they come to the Community Book Center for meetings and gatherings. They go and have some dinner at the Cocoa Hut restaurant. I see the children and their parents picking them up, so that gives me lots and lots of hope.
All right, ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Also tonight, we want to thank you for sharing your signs of hope with us. Here are some of your then and now Katrina pictures. These photos are from Gail in New Orleans. They show her home, how her home looked just after the storm hit, and how it looks now. And the next pictures are from Maxie in Jefferson Parish, showing her moldy apartment just after Katrina, and snapshots of her new home in Gonzales. And Judy in St. Tammany Parish sent in these pictures of her home from just after Katrina and now. Again, thank all of you for sharing your signs of hope with us. As you might imagine, Katrina also deeply affected the employees here at WDSU, scattering many of us far and wide for the first few months after the storm. But we too are seeing signs of hope as we rebuild. Chris Fairbairn is live in Gentillia with a story of how two of our colleagues are recovering. Chris?
Well, Norman, one of our co-workers is rebuilding his home in Mid-City, but another is walking a different path, one that leads away from New Orleans.
Let's check it out. This isn't going to be any fun, but it's about time I do this.
Rich Lenz, his wife and 2 children, lived in Gentilly just 3 blocks from the London Avenue Canal.
Welcome to my backyard and my grill and my little daughter's picnic table. We're going to try this, and if it doesn't work, then we're just going to kick the door down. Yeah, that ain't working very well, is it? There's the den. Everything just got kind of... I'll think of something to say here in a minute, but I don't have anything to say right now.
2 years later, Rich is now standing on the empty lot where his house used to be.
And I think back on that, and it almost doesn't seem real to me. You know, it really doesn't.
Rich gutted the house himself, salvaging only a few sentimental things.
This is my son's prized possession. It's a Joe Montana signed football. There's a signature, it's still there. Maybe I can clean it up, you know?
And he personally videotaped the demolition of the only home his children have ever known.
And in my case, you know, that Claude dug into the attic and a baby carriage toppled out, you know? My daughter's baby carriage.
Like so many, Rich and his family have struggled. They've rented 4 houses over the last 24 months and applied for help from the road home, but are still waiting. They have survived the emotional journey and have come this far only to make that difficult decision.
After a lot of soul searching, you know, I've decided to move on, and I'm moving to another city. And yet, I don't want to. You know, I want to stay here, but I think it's something that I have to do for me and my family. And I'm just hoping that, you know, the people in New Orleans, if they can just miss me maybe a fraction of how much I'm going to miss them and this city, you know, maybe we'll wind up together again.
It wasn't water. Water's H2O. What was out here was H2O and then some. It smelled bad, it looked bad, it felt bad, and it did bad.
Our co-worker, Chief Photographer Tom Fitzgerald, found himself and his family on a different path to recovery.
I did apply for road home money. I got road home money.
With that help, Tom was able to rebuild.
I never gave myself any other choice. I mean, this was where we lived. This is home.
But it wasn't easy. Nearly 4 feet of dirty water flooded Tom's house. It was 2 weeks after Hurricane Katrina before he could even get to it.
It was all kind of, well, it was trashed. It was badly trashed.
This was the kitchen after the storm. The wood floors in the hallway and the walls in the sitting room. This is the kitchen today, completely remodeled.
I mean, all the appliances match. I mean, it was always, an avocado stove with a, a sunshine yellow refrigerator and a white dishwasher. I mean, now it all matches. We've got an island in the middle.
I remember this long hallway.
The hallway's not as long as it used to be. That's another one of those changes. We lopped it off at the end and took part of the front hallway for the living room.
And remember the mold in the sitting room?
The room's essentially the same, except over here there isn't the mold that there was when I showed the house the first time.
After 2 years, the house is almost finished, but not before taking its toll.
It's a good thing, as I'm running out of energy. My house wouldn't be as nice as it is if we hadn't gone through Katrina. Would I take it back? In a minute.
Boy, Hurricane Katrina did a number on all of us, didn't it, Norman? And I know certainly that it has also taken you on another path.
Yes, Chris, it has. I sold my house in the Spring Lake subdivision in New Orleans East about 16 months ago. We didn't revisit it because I didn't want to intrude on the privacy of the people who bought the house. We have since moved to Algiers Point. My granddaughter is back home, so is my daughter, who's a New Orleans police officer. And I guess we're happy that we survived, and we're happy to be in the shape we're in. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And we certainly wish Rich Lenz all the best.
We're going to miss him. All right, Chris. And this personal note. On behalf of the staff here at 6 on Your Side Live, first let me say thank you for all of your support over the past 2 years as we have persevered together to find ways to survive and move forward in this post-Katrina environment. Although this is our 6 on Your Side Live farewell show, rest assured this does not end our commitment to always be there for you. We will never cease to be on your side. Together we've come a long way since those terrible days in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and I underscore the word together. Our future here in this area, this region, this part of southeast Louisiana, and the Mississippi Gulf Coast depends on our ability to bond with each other across all social, economic, political, racial, and ethnic lines. In the words of Lieutenant General Russell Honore, let's not get stuck on stupid. The bottom line is either we'll survive together in unity or meet our demise squabbling about our individual interests. As for those of us here at WDSU News Channel 6, we look forward to a bright future for all. Again, thank you for your support. We leave you tonight with another live look at Jackson Square, the candlelight vigil to mark the 2-year anniversary of Katrina, and more of today's powerful performance from Irvin Mayfield as he honors his father and the others we lost in the storm. For all of us here at WDSU, good night.
Thank you.